My mom left us 16 years ago. Now she came back, and she wants me to forgive her. But I hate her. My story is a bit long, and I apologize for the upcoming wall of text. She and my father were high school sweethearts who got pregnant at a very early age of 17 and had me a month after their prom. We lived in a rural place that's not big enough to be called a town but still larger than your average village. Anyway, they settled themselves into farming after graduating and had my brother 7 years later, and she left us when my brother was only a month and a half old baby. To this day, I can still remember waking up to get ready for school and finding my father on the ground kneeling over and crying holding one of my notebooks. I was just a child at the time, and seeing my father curled up like that made me cry too, and that's when my father got a hold of his emotions and righted himself up to pick me up. She, in her hurry to leave, literally took a notebook from my school bag and wrote her half-assed excuses to why she was leaving us, how she never wanted kids, how she shouldn't have gotten pregnant, and how things should have turned out differently, and how the small town was smothering her around her neck. She needed to get away, and how the second child, my brother, was the final noose that wouldn't let her breathe. I learned what she wrote in that notebook a year or so later when I found it in the drawers. She left with our truck and had someone deliver us the truck a month or so later without even sending a word or anything. Just some guy came and said, "Here's your truck." My father was a mess afterwards, not taking care of the farm, stopped eating, started drinking. It was the fact that he stopped going to school to take care of my brother while my aunt, his sister, and her husband's was that finally made him bounce back, but you could see he was sad for a lot of years, and still even after a decade he would get all closed up around the time she left or on their anniversaries. It was us, Dad and I, who took care of my brother. I'd come back from the school, do the dishes that was left over from our breakfast, and take care of my brother until he was few years older than I slowly became the woman of the house, so to speak. I'd cook the food, do the dishes, and take care of my brother after school, and my father would spend nearly all his awake hours trying to manage the farm. We weren't the richest people around, but with only one depressed adult and 2 small kids, we earned more than what we needed and even saved up a bit for my brother's college fund. My father insisted that I should have one for myself as well, but I was spending too much time on domestic and farm-related stuff to actually focus on my studies, and if I have to be honest, I love the farm, animals, and taking care of my brother. Anyway, nearly a year ago she returned to visit her family, my aunt and us too, and she apparently was planning on settling back here permanently. We knew that she had a good few years of modeling, which led to her joining the staff of some sort of a magazine from our aunt, as she still called her from time to time. She tried calling us a few times as well, but I refused to talk with her, and I think she was too ashamed to ask to talk with my brother. Anyway, when she came back she apparently had enough for sitting back here with a new house and some land. After a few days of her coming here, she tried to contact us again when she and my dad ran into each other at the town center. My dad says he told her about my opinion on her, but she insisted. Apparently she owned that to me, and I shoved it, for the lack of better term, with few extras on the side as well. She tried the emotional, regretful parent on me with her crying and all, but I don't buy it, or rather I just wish she never came back to disturb us and lived in her airy, breathable big city life and left us the hell alone. My brother was not there at the time, as he's in his first year in college. He was admitted via early enrollment thanks to him being a lovable genius that he's. I knew my dad was still in love with her. I tried to set up a few dates for him before, but it never went anywhere, and this summer, this summer, they started dating again, to my dismay and my brother's joy. My dad invited her over to dinner when my brother came back from his summer break, and we had a family dinner. I wanted to warn my brother about her, but seeing his enthusiasm about it, I couldn't break his heart, so I just stayed civil and didn't speak unless spoken to. My father had kept that notebook for more than a decade, but I decided to burn it when I was 19. My father and had a pretty big fight about how I had no right to burn it, but I said to him that it was better than my brother accidentally finding it and reading how her mother thought her a noose around her neck that wouldn't let her breathe, and he caved in after that. And now whenever I see her in our house talking with my brother, who looks up to her like Genie finally granted his wish, I remember what she wrote, and the rage and hatred that goes through my very soul is becoming the goddamn noose that won't let me breathe. My brother had a talk with me this morning about me being cold toward her, and it turned heated when my brother said, "Why wouldn't I be happy? I finally have a mother. We finally have a mother." And I shouted back at him, "I was your mother, not that WH*, and I don't have a mother." And I made my brother storm out of the house crying, and seeing him cry made me cry, while my father tried to mediate between us and failed. The fact that I can't tell him that I hate her because she detested us, her own goddamn children, because it will hurt him more. The fact that she abandoned and scolded the loveliest, most innocent-looking baby with sky-blue eyes when she was supposed to be a mother to him. I was goddamn 7 years old when I cooted him and changed his diapers for the first time with my aunt showing me how it's done, and I didn't resent him. I loved him like a brother, and I loved him like she was supposed to. And the little comments people make about her and me now that she's back are just salt to the wound about our likeness. Even my brother once commented on how we looked so alike, smiled like each other, and how she probably looked like me when she hit him, and it took all my willpower to not snap at him. I know that being this bitter, cold person will drive my brother away, and I know I should stop if I wish to preserve this blissful moment even though the cause is hip, but I can't help it. The worst part is, since she came back, she's not the heartless piece of shit that left us. She never raised her voice when I cursed at her when my brother was not around, or told her to leave us alone, or when I asked if she was avoiding me because I shouldn't be born at all and she's trying to fix a mistake by avoiding me. I once even told her what she thought about the news when my brother hugged her, and she just looked like she was punched and got teary-eyed, but only apologized and didn't try to defend herself. I can't even enjoy hurting her. She doesn't fight back. She's not the monster I made her out to be, at least she isn't now. And the worst part today made me resentful and tired, like I don't even have strength to feel emotions. I actually understand the resentfulness now. Am I truly just like her for resenting my brother for forgiving her and calling her his mother when I raised him myself with a depressed father at home when I was just a child myself? Or the fact that my father accepted her back so quickly makes me see him as a weak-willed man that makes me question the respect I have for him? Did I resent the fact that I stayed here on the farm, not going to college? They made me skip a grade as well before my mother left us. Would I find some sort of new outlook on life at college that would make me more like my brother or father and be happy instead of resentful? I've vented quite a bit, and I'm sorry and thankful to you guys, as I think it let me unwind a bit, so my question is, what am I going to do now?